Hello everybody. I want to make a little quick video for some of the things I learned about pool maintenance. We bought this house about a half a year ago, and we've never had a house before, and definitely never had a pool of our own. We have a pretty small sized pool, which is something that we were looking for. We didn't want anything gigantic because we have kids, and we just kind of wanted to take a quick dip once in a while. But so the main reason for this video is to tell you guys about some of the lessons that I learned in owning a house with a pool, and hopefully you guys can kind of take in these lessons and learn from my mistakes. And this by no means is a instructional video that you should take as the absolute truth or with accuracy. I'm still new to this, so I'm learning all the terminology, and I'm sure I'm still doing some things wrong. So definitely look at this video, and if you see a point that I make that's kind of interesting, definitely take a look at other videos or talk to a professional. I just want to kind of get the thoughts going in your heads. And ooh, helicopter flying overhead. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, definitely talk to a professional, and know that I'm still new to this, so I probably still make a lot of mistakes, but there's a lot of good lessons to learn. So here's the pool. When we first got the house, the pool just kind of came bare. There was no kind of what I call a vacuum that kind of vacuums up the debris on the floor of the pool. So I purchased that since then. And I'll kind of go over the models and everything. So I purchased this Hayward. It's called the Navigator Pro. It's about $400. I found a place that had it for $300. It was $400, but I'm gonna get a $100 mail-in rebate. The place where I got it from, the people were really nice and helped me out. And they also recommended that I get a large capacity leaf canister. And that's it right there. It's a little canister that basically has a net inside, and it collects debris, anything from big leaves to little small particulates. Really, really good. They also gave me this thermometer for free. This little guy right there. So as I said, this is our pool, and one of the things that I noticed when we first got the house is that you see the little, let me get in there. Oh yeah, and we also got this gate, child-proof gate for the kids. Always have to be safe with the kiddos. Don't want any accidents. So when we first got the house, we had a pool guy, and those guys would come in and kind of clean the pool and check the chemistry. But I kept asking about this, why the pressure of the water that's coming out here is really low. What would happen is one of these outlets would barely dribble and the other one wouldn't have any pressure at all. And they kept kind of nodding their head like, oh no, we don't know, that seems normal. Something's going on, we don't know. But so I kind of took matters into my own hands, and I went to the local pool supply store. It's called, so I live in Los Angeles in the valley, San Fernando Valley, and the place is called Discount Pool Mart. And those guys, they have a couple locations. They were awesome. They were so helpful, even though I was new to this, and I had a lot of questions, and they took their time to answer all the questions. So if you live in the area, I highly recommend that you go check them out, and I'm sure they'll be just as helpful to you. So anyway, I kind of told them my situation. We have a pool, we're new to this, and I told them that when I go to the pool filtration system, and I'll go there right now. We have a pretty I think simple pool filtration system. They definitely get much more complicated than this. So this is where the timer is for the pool filter. There's a little on and off switch right here, like a manual on and off switch. One lesson I learned the hard way: don't try to operate this thing when your hands are wet, and definitely be careful because these right here are live contacts. and if you touch one of them, you will get electrocuted. And I got electrocuted, and luckily I was wearing shoes at the time, so I got a pretty, you know, my hands were wet, so the shock was painful, but it didn't hurt me, thank God. And then here you can see my timer is set to filter the pool for about, what is it, 2.5 hours? Oh no, more. About 4 hours, from like 10:30 to 3:30, something like that. So yeah, definitely be careful. Make sure your kids are not playing with this stuff, because there is electricity. Perhaps your unit is different and doesn't have the live contacts, but mine certainly does. So yeah, so 4 hours is about the recommended. What is it, 4 hours, or what do I have? A little bit more than 4 hours is the recommended amount to filter every day. This is our heater. It's also a Hayward. Never used it because we haven't really had the weather for swimming, and we didn't want to pay too much for the heating the water, so we're kind of waiting for the warmer weather altogether. So this system's supposed to be pretty nice. It's kind of brand new. This is the Hayward filtration tank, and I'm gonna go over the tank a little bit more in a second, but here's one of the most important things you can pay attention to, and it's the gauge on top of the filter. Do note that there is a small chance, or a chance, that the gauge is old and broken, so definitely be aware of that. You might have to replace it. But so when we got the house and the filter would turn on every day, these things were set like this, and our gauge was at almost 30, and which is high pressure, but yet nothing was coming out. I mean, barely any water was coming out of the outlets in the pool. So I went to the pool guys and I asked them, hey, you know, what's the normal pressure? And I told them that I have almost 30, and they were in shock, and they said it's supposed to be between 8 and 15. So, you know, 8's pretty good and could go up to 15. I think up to 30 is dangerous, and after 30 it's like this thing could literally blow up. So definitely really pay attention to this guy. Make sure that the little arrow here is between 8 and 15. If it's beyond that, it basically most likely means that the filtration system needs to be cleaned. So inside this particular unit, there's these fins. If you open it up, there's fins inside, and they're filled with this DE powder, and then that helps clean out the water. And you can do this process called backwashing once in a while. So like if you just cleaned did an official clean of the filter, and you see like things are not working quite well, you can do this thing called a backwash, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. And basically it sends the water backwards through the filter and kind of cleans out some of the debris in the process. But they basically said that you should get your filter professionally cleaned about every 6 months, I believe. And you know, don't quote me on that, so definitely double check. But if you see the key sign is the pressure going up. So we also have, so this is when you backwash, this is where the water comes out, and we have this rubber hose that goes all the way to the outside of our gate over there. And the reason is because this drain is majorly clogged up, and you can see I have a puddle right now. So if we release a lot of water, it's just going to be all over this area. So we take the hose and put it kind of over there, and let it spill out to that area where there is a drain that works. At some point we should get that fixed, I suppose. So if you want to do the backwashing, this is the valve that does it. Basically, anytime you kind of do any operation that involves the filtration system, I would highly recommend turning it off, just so that you don't damage it or do something weird with it. At least while you're learning. You know, if it's off, it's not as dangerous for the system and for you. So yeah, so they recommend backwashing for about a minute, 50 to 60 seconds, something like that. and so you pull that up, and then the water starts pouring out of this exhaust pipe right here, and then you wait a minute, and then afterwards you close it again. This is the motor that pulls the water through. Once in a while, depending on how dirty your pool is, you might have to open it up and clear out the basket that collects the debris. So I monitor that every couple of days just to make sure that's clear. Anytime a basket gets dirty, it kind of blocks the system, and it doesn't operate as smoothly as it should. So I was told that this motor is actually one of the older types of motors, and there's new motors that are more efficient, and so you can get that replaced and probably get a rebate from your electrical company. And so from what I understand, the water comes in from the pool through, usually this is the skimmer, which is, I'll show you the skimmer really quick so you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. So the skimmer is, there's like a kind of like this gap on the side of the pool, most likely right here. Hopefully you can see that. That's the skimmer. You also have this kind of port at the top here where you can open up and see if there's any debris. There's a basket in here that catches debris so it doesn't go into the filtration system. I have a couple of leaves, but that's not bad. You always want to make sure that that's pretty clear so that once again the system is working at full efficiency and the water is going through there. And then I would recommend turning off your system if you're going to clear this, so that if the basket's, so basically the basket pulls out, and if the basket's not there and debris is going in, that's probably not a good idea. So definitely turn off the system. So that's the skimmer. I also have another port over here that I connected the vacuuming system to, and so I suppose that maybe not every pool has this extra port, and in the manual they say that you can connect the vacuum to the skimmer. So just check out the manual for your vacuuming system. So once again, if you look at my system, this pipe on the left is the water coming out of the skimmer. The pipe on the right is the water coming out of the port where the vacuum is currently connected. And before I got the vacuum, this valve was turned all the way to the skimmer, so the skimmer was getting all the full suction. And once I got the vacuum, I had to figure out how to trim or how to adjust this the valve so that there's enough suction coming out from the skimmer and enough for the vacuum. You might think that you should do like 50-50, but in order for the vacuum to work correctly, you have to figure out good suction, so that the good suction is coming through the vacuum. After that, the water goes through here, through this pipe, goes into, gets sucked in by the motor, goes back out through this pipe, and then into the filtration system. Into the filtration systems, goes through the filter, comes back out, goes into the heater, so it comes out of the heater, and then back to the, so this is the main pipe that goes back to the pool right here, this guy right here. So I hope that makes sense. What else? So yeah, just make sure your system's always healthy. As far as the chemistry, I definitely probably would leave it to the professionals. There's, you can go to the local pool supply store and they'll do a test for you and tell you, if there's chlorine missing, or if it needs, if it's too acidic, or, the pH is not right, and they'll give you the right chemicals to put in. One thing I will say is, if you get the acid, definitely be careful with it, because that's like really strong acid, and it will burn through your skin and through your eyes and everything. And if you spill some accidentally, it will create basically fumes. And I actually had that experience. I was traveling with the acid from from the pool supply place, and some spilled in my trunk, and all of a sudden I noticed I had a hard time breathing, and it didn't occur to me right away that it was the acid. I was just kind of like, what's going on with me? So guys, please treat the chemicals with the respect that oh, the vacuum cleaner pipes are tangling. I gotta make sure that they don't do that. What else? And then, you know, they tell you to, you know, the water needs to be checked at least once a week, maybe even more, depending on your pool, you know, how often you use it, and all kinds of different conditions. So definitely don't forget to, you know, take care of the pool, especially if you don't have a pool guy coming in regularly. I would recommend getting a pool guy that comes in, checks the chemistry, makes sure that the chemistry is good, and then also clears, you know, all the baskets, and also make sure that the debris is cleared off the surface of the pool. And most importantly, get a guy or a girl or a woman who cleans the sides of the pool, because that's where the algae accumulates. And from what I understand, especially if you have black algae, I think that's really hard to get rid of. So that could be a problematic. I had some green algae that I cleaned off yesterday, and that seemed to come off pretty easily. You can see the brush that I got right there. So I just go all the way around, up and down until everything's clean. So, you know, I think that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything I learned. Oh, by the way, this wow, more helicopters. What's going on today? Let's see what's going on this way. Like in Helicopter Alley. One thing to be careful with, this DE powder. Be careful when you're dealing with it, because it's such a fine powder. It just kind of, if you shake it up too much, it goes up into the air, and if you breathe it in, it could cause problems. I read somewhere that it's actually carcinogenic, which means it could cause, you know, potentially lung cancer. So, you know, I would say, once again, leave it to a professional, or if you do it yourself, just take the right precautionary measures to not inhale it, and definitely make sure your family and kids are far away when you're dealing with that stuff. I think that's about it. I'm sure there's a lot more, and I'm sure there's a lot that I missed, and you know, if I misspoke about something, please definitely leave a comment.